This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Stories, The True and the Fictional. Ryan is sadly not with us today, but he'll be on the next one, I guarantee it. We've got a wonderful guest. But before we bring him in, we've got to do the spiel. We've got to do the sponsor run. Rebecca Cassells, Martin Kearns. Check out their stuff. Martin Kearns for the urban fantasy. Rebecca Cassells for the paranormal romance. You know, werewolves that are modelled off Henry Cavill. So check them out. And remember to grab It's the best pitch ever. Yeah. So guys, check them out. Grab my book Ancora. It's been out a little bit of a while, and let's get into the show. J.S. Gold, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, very happy to be here. I don't know if I can top werewolves that are modeled after Henry Cavill. I don't think I'm bringing any of that sex appeal. I am so sorry to our listeners.
Then you should just think about rewriting. Just rewrite a little bit. Rewrite a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Just drop him into the next one. You know.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And he's actually I'm a big fan though because he's a huge gamer too. I'd love to drop him into any story, anything. Yeah, he's awesome. Anyway. Yes, very nice. That was a mini tangent on Henry Cavill. Yes, I'm here. I'm so happy to be here. Very nice speaking with you.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, who is J.S. Gold?
Yes, so J.S. Gold is the author of a debut urban fantasy novel entitled The Sanhedrin Chronicles. Came out this past November. And it is a Jewish fantasy. So it tells the story of Arthur Rose, who is a modern New York secular Jewish guy. He has abandoned his Judaism for reasons that we get into in the story, but it begins when he realizes that, in fact, he can see demons. He has a second sight that allows him to see demons. And it turns out that his father and his lineage is part of an ancient Jewish demon hunting order entitled the Sanhedrin. So hijinks ensue. And our boy has to go on a journey not just to defeat demons beneath the Port Authority of New York City, which if any listener has been to New York City, they know that's where demons probably are going to congregate. He goes on a journey to defeat them, but also uncover his Jewish roots and reclaim his Jewish identity for himself.
Epic.
It certainly. Yeah, I mean, listen, it took me 5 years to get it out, so it certainly has felt like an epic journey.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're going to jump into that a little bit later because we have a tradition here on the podcast. We have icebreaker questions, bit of fun, but we do mandate that you're selfish. We're not looking for Miss Universe answers here. We want to get to the core of you, your pet peeves, what drives you. So,
oh my God! Okay, I'll pretend I've got truth serum in this bottle. Sure.
So, with that in mind, our first question is: if you could get rid of anything in the world, what would it be?
Social media.
We had that. we had that recently. Yeah.
And I know that it's counterintuitive for me because I'm literally trying to sell my product. Okay, yes. I'm completely aware. I can feel the listeners being like, "BS, I'm calling bull," right?
Yeah.
But no, listen, I think that social media, we are uncovering more research in the past, 10, 15 years since its real ascension, that it is not good on a lot of levels, especially for kids. And in fact, in Australia, didn't you guys just have the national bill get passed about the age limit?
Yeah, but I don't see that sticking. Like they haven't really thought it through.
Oh, they haven't thought it through. Well, in any case, yeah.
Because it's like, you do it. Like they're going, okay, so how are you going to implement this when all these social media companies are overseas and they're going like, we'll get them to do it.
Yes, gotcha. Well, listen, I understand, the logistics might be hard, but the idea behind it is genuine 100% because it's having an effect on our youth. I am a teacher by day. And I'm a high school teacher, and you can see it. I've seen in real time the past 10 years how it's kind of corroded the minds
Yeah.
of this generation of Gen Z and then Gen Alpha. So yeah, social media, and then
Yeah.
of course, and I won't even get into the ways that it corrodes like our faith in institutions,
Yeah.
it expands conspiracy.
Yeah.
We've all, I'm sure,
Yeah.
listeners, it's becoming more and more of a discourse. So
Yeah.
I won't belabor the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we needed to sell our books.
Well, we needed to tell our book, so maybe get rid of social media except for my page. I'm the
Yeah.
one page left.
Or just make it marketing.
Yeah,
It's just a
just
marketing
straight
scape.
marketing.
Yeah.
Straight, yeah, just a
Buy and sell.
marketing.
Buy and
Yeah,
sell.
that's right. Buy and sell. That's right. A marketplace. I love
Yeah.
it.
There you go. Cool. All right. What's something on your bucket list?
Oh, going to Japan. Going to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And you're in Australia, so you can get over there a little easier than I can out here in the
Yeah.
East Coast of the States.
Yeah.
Have you been?
No. What
Yeah.
surprises most people is I've never even been on a plane.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've never
No?
like I've traveled. I've just never like because Australia's so big and I like to see everything.
Yeah.
It kind of like it's a lot of fun driving 10 hours and being able to stop in little towns and meet people from
Oh,
all
yeah.
over the place, you know?
Oh, of course.
Uh,
I get the sense that Australia is like the States in that way, where you hop in the car and it's road trip time. Like
yeah,
you can go as long as you want and
yeah,
experience everything.
yeah. The
Yeah.
only time like I mean Perth, which is on the other side of Australia, the west coast,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to drive there.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
it's like
Yeah.
41 hours and there's nothing in
Oh,
between it. It's just all
oh my
straight road.
God.
To the point that
Wow.
my cousins went on a road trip when they were kids
Yeah.
and they went way out, like way out there. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was way out. And then
Hmm.
they'd be like, "Are we there yet?" And their dad's like, "Yeah, it's just around the corner." But there wouldn't be a corner for like
Yeah. Right.
4 hours,
Right. Right. Right.
Because
Right.
it's
Right.
just
Right.
a straight road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's so surreal. Yeah. But yeah. So okay. Fair enough. Australia's got plenty for everybody already.
yeah,
But I would imagine I share this with my listeners, and I'm sure you as well. Japan, like.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, well, because it's so funny because I teach history in high school, and Japan came up in conversation not just because of the history I have to teach, but because of this idea of soft power and culture and how
yeah,
countries kind of spread their identity with the world. And I just think Japan is one of those places that just has a purchase on the imagination of so many
yeah,
people across the world.
yeah. I love it. I love their movies. I love that. Look, I'm a huge punk rocker. My hat.
Yeah,
The first thing, gimme's
yeah.
love
Oh,
punk rock, and punk rock
love
is
it.
still huge over there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. J-punk.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because I got friends that played in bands way back when, and they went over there on a tour, and then like three of them came back with wives, pretty much.
Oh,
It's just like they they
that's
they
wow.
they love the
That's
Australians.
quite the
They
good
love,
trip.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like
Okay.
pretty funny. But no,
All right.
I love
Well,
Japan.
yeah. Well, if I go there, I'll go with my wife, and if I come home with my wife, that means things are good.
Yeah,
If I come home with another wife, that something has gone terribly
yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
That's it. That's
Uh,
it.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. All right, number three. Now this can be a two-part question because
Okay.
you may have a favorite, but
Mm.
what is the greatest sitcom ever made? And if that's not
Mm.
your favorite, the one you binge the most, what is?
Mm. Oh boy. Okay. The greatest sitcom ever. Well, so listen, this is where I lean into stereotypes a little bit, and that's fine. It is what it is. I trust the audience. Seinfeld.
Hmm.
Seinfeld is the best sitcom of all time. It was on basically constantly in my house.
Yeah.
Jewish household, very Jewish humor. Uh, Larry created by Larry David, and of course led by Jerry Seinfeld and company. So
Yeah.
there, and we're from New York, so
Yeah.
it just ticked all those
Yeah.
boxes of our sense of humor, our sense of um, it actually it goes a little bit deeper than you might think because the style of humor of Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld is, if you think about it, it's very Talmudic. It's very like
Yeah.
Torah and Talmud because essentially what they're asking with their comedy is what is social etiquette and where does fault lie, where does blame lie, where what is acceptable behavior versus what is not in a society, right? And how we interact with each other. Not to go philosophical with Seinfeld, but I think it is like the perfect representation of Jewish comedy in that way
Mm.
and where it derives from.
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it. It did ruin Green Day for me though. Um,
Oh yeah,
with that,
is that
because
yeah the song?
the last song, "Time of Your Life," and then it just never,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
never,
yeah.
yeah. It's just like I
Yeah.
loved Green Day, and then that song was just the only song you ever heard. I'm just like, make it stop,
I know,
make it
I know,
stop.
yeah, I know. And I was in camp when it came out, and it was the summer of Green Day. Yes,
Yeah,
I 100%
it
remember
was.
that. Yeah, but it does show the power of the show
Yeah,
and how widespread it was, right?
yeah,
That the Green Day really he was a huge boon for them.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it's just, yeah, it's good because a lot of people model all their shows now on, or careers or everything on Seinfeld. Like, I mean, I think Hugh Jackman, when he decided to hang up Wolverine, was he talked to Jerry Seinfeld apparently, and it was just like,
really.
you got to end on a high, before it gets
Yeah,
stale, and
yeah.
that's,
Well, Jerry should have taken his own advice with the last episode, but
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
fine.
that's
That's
it.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and
then,
evidently Hugh didn't take his advice either because he put the
yeah,
claws back on.
yeah, that's it.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm glad he did because that was a really good movie.
yeah. Oh no, yeah, listen, it was fantastic. Yeah, you can keep ending on a high note if each time you come back it's still a high
It's a
note,
high
right?
note, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You kind of circumvent
yeah.
rule.
Yeah, putting on the yellow cowl was about time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Uh,
Bryan Singer, right? Bryan Singer was the director of those X-Men movies in the aughts,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, was it his idea or was it the producer's idea, Fox, to put them in those drab black outfits? I think it was it was
It was
the
probably,
producer.
yeah, it probably would have been. But then I also heard that Singer didn't want them reading the comics on
Oh,
set.
what?
Like, yeah, no. So
Why?
that's I don't know. Like, he probably wanted
So
to make it
weird.
all different. But
Hmm.
otherwise, you probably would have gotten a Henry Cavill situation where he's just like on the set of The Witcher and he's just like reading the books and he's like going, "This wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen."
Oh,
You know?
I get. We keep coming back to Henry Cavill, man. This is
It's
time
a
number two.
Well, we do have a segment that's come and gone on this podcast called Appreciating Cavill because we talk about him so much.
Oh, listen, yeah, there's a lot to appreciate, as my wife would tell you. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a
It's just,
lot to appreciate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah. So Seinfeld. So the
Yeah.
long answer for a short
Long answer,
question.
Seinfeld. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Love it. All right. Fun one. What's your zombie apocalypse plan?
Hunker, hunker down.
Hunker down.
I'm a hunker. I feel like the first choice you have to make when you're thinking zombie apocalypse is: are you going out or are you staying in?
Yeah.
And the problem with staying in, of course, is you have to be ready. You have to be
Yeah.
ready at all times. And I'm not one of these doomers who's hoarding things in the basement.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to imagine is you take a typical day. There's some food in the fridge, right? On any given day, there's
Yeah.
some food in the fridge. I'm looking at some water bottles. I'm in the basement of my house, so I'm looking at some water bottles we've got down here. So you think to yourself, all right, the first thing you're going to try to do is secure the zone
Yeah.
and see what information you can glean. Radio, TV, any medium of communication. You try walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
You try to get a sense of what's going on out there to the best of your ability before you set out.
Yeah.
Before you have to. And I've actually, believe it or not, this is a conversation I have somewhat frequently, and people do say like, I'm out. You have to get out there because some people say you got to get to the supermarket first. I'm
Yeah.
like, I guess you got to get to the food, but if you can hunker and let it all
Yeah.
kind of die down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one because the last few answers we got were people just saying, "Oh, I'll just die."
Oh no.
It's just like,
No, man.
he's like, "I'm going out. I'm going to spend a few days with my kids and then blah." You know?
No, man. That's so fatalistic.
I know.
That's so fatalistic. And not to bring up the Judaism too much, but again, like that's contrary to how I was raised. Is we got to live,
Yeah.
baby. We got to
Yeah,
live.
you
It's
gotta
all
live.
tie in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, we got to live. That's our whole thing. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, no, it's a great question. It does get you thinking about, if it really was the end of the world, how would you play it? And
Yeah.
yeah, hunker, and maybe not for
Okay.
the entire time. How long? So how long would you hunker if you're a hunkerer? How long would you do it before you
Well,
feel
I don't
like
know.
gotta?
What was it? Because I watched season 1 of The Last of Us, and they had that
Yeah, me
Doomsday
too.
Prepper, and was he in there for like
Oh, he was in there for
five?
years. He never
Yeah,
had to leave.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He
But
did.
he was
Well,
a
okay,
prepper, you know.
he was a prepper, and he
Yeah,
did leave only in the immediate vicinity to set up a farm in his
yeah,
backyard and stuff
yeah,
like that, right?
yeah, yeah,
But I guess what I'm saying is, all things being equal, let's
yeah,
say you've got food in the fridge.
yeah,
Um, eventually you're going to have to kind of venture forth.
yeah. You are.
So how long would be your? Because I feel like my threshold would be, if I could last a month. I feel like a month is a good
Month is a good
unit.
stretch. Yeah,
Yeah, is a good stretch to kind of let it all pass over.
yeah. And I mean, I got a
Yeah.
veggie patch in my yard, so you know,
Oh, there you go.
I
What are you
can.
growing out there?
Oh, we got some corn. We got some broccoli. Um,
Oh,
we got strawberries as well. I know it's not vegetables,
oh, look at
but
that.
we get birds trying to eat them all the time, so it's kind of
Oh,
you know
yeah.
we got the
Listen,
cloth draped over them. You
right,
know,
right, right. Well, you're doing your best Thanksgiving impression out there. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
You
you
know
got the
what?
corn.
I do live in the wilderness, you know, so no zombie's gonna come
Oh
up here.
yeah,
We
yeah, right, right, right.
we I think during COVID we had one case, like in the whole
Oh,
town. That's
in the
how
whole town.
that's how small we are.
God bless. God, and nobody really. How big is the town? Like
Uh,
1,500, thousands of people.
no, it's I think last count was 1,800 people.
Oh man, so you're living like that classic kind of bucolic small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knows each other kind of life.
Yeah, a lot of people come and go because we live in a fire zone. Um,
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
it's hilarious to see a house get sold, people move in, and then it
Hmm.
comes summer, and then the house is for sale.
Oh,
You know,
I would
it's just
Yeah,
like
man.
it's
Yeah.
just. Did you guys
I,
think this through before you moved here? You
right.
know?
There are in fact seasons.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
turning. You're right. Right.
yeah,
Absolutely. There's a orbiting around the
yeah.
sun, and then sometimes we're. You're right.
Because
Yeah.
it's come majorly close a few times. When I was a kid, it came 50 meters from one of the houses, the fire,
Wow.
and then
Wow.
the wind changed, and it went. It gets
Wow.
it's
Good act of God.
yeah, never burned, but um, come very close. You know,
Wow.
but
What about in 2020? Were you guys, because remember, before COVID was the biggest story of that year was the wildfires out there.
yeah, that was uh, I don't we didn't get it that bad, didn't get close to us, but it was more north,
Hmm.
and that was just to sheer incompetence as well because they didn't do. There's a thing
Oh.
called back burning where you got to you got to burn to
Hmm.
get rid of the undergrowth. Otherwise, you get those 2019 fires. You know, because
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
didn't do back burning for 10 years. It was just you know just that it was insane.
Yeah, man. The famous video that went around. COVID's like such a time capsule, but that
Yeah.
famous video that was going around right in the beginning of COVID from the Canadian comedian Lindsay Noak, I think her name is,
Hmm.
where she says talking to my past self, and one of the first jokes in that viral video is like, she's talking to her past self from like 3 months before, and she's
Hmm.
like, "Oh man, it's been a crazy year, the Australian wildfires."
Yeah.
And her future self is like, "What? Oh yeah, that was like a really big deal in
Yeah.
2020,
Yeah.
right? In like I think January of 2020."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's our summer. And then
Oh.
in the middle of COVID, we had a major flood,
Mm,
and we were completely cut off,
mm.
like completely to the
Oh,
point
like straight up, like the roads were like biblical.
every road, and there's usually a road, because we've got two roads that go over the mountains.
Yeah,
You
right.
can, if you're stuck, you can usually go drive and an hour over the mountains and come back around, like back on the freeway. But that
Hmm.
side road was completely landslide. You know, so
My God,
we were
scary.
we had one police on our side of the river. You
Oh
know,
my God, one dude,
one cop. I think no, yeah, it was one cop, one police officer,
one police
one
officer.
police officer.
Oh
Um,
my God, that's like the making of a movie, right? Like
yeah,
one man standing between chaos and
yeah.
order.
But then our local pizza shop uh chartered a helicopter
Wow.
to get supplies in. You know,
Wow. Oh
and then
my,
that night the pizza shop was booming. Everyone was
yeah,
buying pizza. You know,
hells yeah, I would imagine. My goodness. Oh man.
yeah,
Listen, you got to write a story on that. That's a
yeah,
story in and of itself.
yeah.
There's a
No,
novel right there.
it's Australia, man.
Right. Welcome to Australia.
Welcome to
Right.
Australia.
Welcome to Australia. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Would it hurt if I said that after this conversation, it's not necessarily on the bucket list as high as it was just a few minutes ago with the
Well,
flooding and the fires?
oh, you just need to pick the right time.
Got to pick the right time. Yeah. In case the audience thinks I'm serious, but literally before we came on, I was talking about my children's love for Bluey
Yeah,
and how Brisbane has like is a household name for us here in my
yeah,
house, and so we definitely, of course, we would visit
yeah.
in a heart.
Even
Yeah,
even even the dogs love Bluey
the dogs love Bluey. See, I
because
don't have dogs. I've got cats. The dogs like it.
it's because they animate Bluey in the color spectrum that dogs can see and animals can
I did
see.
not know that.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
so
I
that's
did
why
not know.
they're fixated because they can see it. You're
Right.
like, what's that? You know?
Right. 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 Wow.
Yeah,
So how do we go? Oh, because I asked about hunkering, and then you talked about
yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the tangent show, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You said before we came on, you're like, yeah, we go on tangents. I'm like, all right, so they go on No,
We
we
go
go
on
on the
tangents.
tangents. That's good. That's fine. That's good.
All right, we'll pull it back in with the final icebreaker question.
Sure.
So Bill and Ted arrive outside your house in their phone booth
Mhm.
time machine and say,
Yeah.
"Whoa, dude, Rufus asked us to give you a ride in our phone booth time machine. Where do you go?"
Oh, nice impression. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So where would I go now? Look, at the risk of sounding too American, because I know the rap is like Americans are so hyper focused on ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh, I would do the American Revolution. I
Oh,
would. I would, because I don't think it would be a stretch for the audience to hear from an American that the country is going through a lot of soul searching right now.
yeah.
There are people, and I'm happy to report, at least in my circles, that there are really the discourse has really shifted over the past few years from I don't understand to it's happening. Whatever it is in your mind, it's happening, and we need to have conversations and we need to understand each other. And I think in order to understand the United States, I would love to go back to the very beginning, because the genesis is setting you, it's charting you on a course for your entire nation's history,
Yeah.
the way they think about the world, the way they think about themselves. And I'd love to get back into the cradle of the nation and see where this came from firsthand.
That'd be
That
cool.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, dude, like, there's a story idea. I have a flintlock fantasy
Hmm.
idea for not exactly the American Revolution, of course, because it's fantasy, but I would kind of fantasize the American Revolution and have like a stand-in for the United States rebelling against Britain, and it'd be a
Hmm.
flintlock fantasy with like cool gun powers and stuff. It'd be sick.
Yeah.
So that it would be research for that too.
Yeah. Would you
Yeah.
take back a copy of Hamilton the musical for
You
them to watch?
know, yeah, right, for them to watch. So you know what's so funny? I actually think that Hamilton and Co. and the founding fathers, I actually think that the main theme of the show, it would resonate completely with them.
Yeah.
Because there are many themes, but one of the big
Mhm.
themes of that show is, you know, that history is going to remember you.
Yeah.
And so if you know that,
Yeah.
how are you going to comport yourself?
Yeah.
Right. And they would have absolutely been like, yes, that literally, wow, how did they
Yeah.
know us so well? Because they
Yeah.
they knew Washington and
Yeah.
Franklin and Adams and
Yeah.
they knew that they were going to be revered and sought
Yeah.
and looked back to. So yeah, I would. You're right. I would bring
Yeah.
hell's
Yeah.
hell's yeah. I talked my way to the answer. Hell's yes.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the icebreaker's done. You
Oh,
pass.
okay.
You
And
pass
that
with
was just
flying
the
colors.
icebreaker. Wow.
That
Okay.
was.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Now we get into the fun stuff, man.
This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between two ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today.
So, so that wasn't the fun stuff. Oh my god, that we broke enough ice to get us through the Arctic there. That was
That's
that was
all right.
great. Hmm.
Well, tell us about how you got into writing. How did it start? And how'd you
Yeah,
get to where
sure.
you are?
Yeah, sure. So do you want the kind of the professional staged answer, or do you want the kind of like embarrassing story that kind of got me into it? What do you
Have at it. The
have
floor's
at it?
yours.
The floor's mine. Yeah. Let me give the professional one first. So the professional one is I've been writing for 12 years. I've been writing since college. I'm 33, and it has really been an amazing, very serendipitous journey. I'm very lucky as well. I met my literary agent when I was 22.
Wow.
Um, yeah, crazy stuff. Like crazy how that happens. I got into his writing workshop in New York City when I was 22. He has been like a mentor to me, a guru, a writing guru, and he stuck with me. He saw even that first day that I went in there. He saw what I was about. He saw my vision for things, and he stuck around for 3 shitty books until we finally got to this one, the Sanhedrin Chronicles, and we felt ready to put it out into the world and ship it to publishers and see what they said. So that's the professional journey, right? And of course, you say the typical things, which is true, which is 100% true. My wife stood by me as I
Yeah.
was writing, and you can picture the Hollywood drama, like, Jeremy, come back to bed. And it's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
writing, all
Yeah.
um, 100% true. But that's more of the typical answer. The funny answer is that I had these stories in my head when I was a teenager, like all through my childhood and when I was a teenager. And here's the thing, I kind of didn't have the discipline to write.
Mm.
I kind of didn't have the mental fortitude to sit in front of a screen and just type it out and just get it out there when I was 16, 17, 18. I'm not like Mary Shelley, who's like putting it out there
Yeah.
when she's 23 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but the stories were there. So what to do? So I literally would perform for myself, like an audience of one. I would perform one-man shows in my room where I'd be acting out these stories and these scenes, and I'd literally be like making sound effects and stuff. And I'd close my door and put on these performances. My family was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, what is going on over there? We hear noises through the wall. Are you okay?" I mean, a teenage boy with the door closed, who knows
Yeah.
what could be happening? You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter is that I was doing this even into college. There would be times where, like, the boys, the college roommates would go out for, to the club or whatever, or to the bar, and I maybe would stay behind a little bit, and I would find myself alone, and I'd literally just like, all right, time to act it out. Like, I've got to like get it off my brain. And I said I really have to get it out and onto paper. My brain is gonna explode. So that is like the true origin, right?
Mm.
The stories became more sophisticated in my head, and it came to a point when I said to myself, you have to do something, or else you're just gonna be a weirdo. You're just
Yeah.
gonna be 40 years old, just like spinning around in your room, letting these stories kind of like go,
Yeah.
go whack people up here. Um, so I was kind of, you might say I was kind of forced into it by my own psychosis.
Cool. Yeah. No, I know what it's like having ideas wrapping around your head. Like, I mean, I can't read all that much
Mm, mm,
because I read a few lines and then my mind wanders. What if this happened? What
hmm
if that? Well, that might. Well, a good story would be like this, and then it's just like
Right.
you've read an entire page and you haven't read an entire page. You have to
That's
go
right.
back.
I know exactly what you mean. I know
That's
exactly. Yeah. Because when you're an artist, you're consuming art, you're constantly digesting it through the
mm,
lens of what would I do?
yeah,
How would I do this? And
yeah,
it's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse, right?
yeah,
Because you're learning how to tell your own story,
yeah,
but you can't you can never go back once you understand this is who you are and this is what you want to do with your
yeah,
life. You can never go back to just consuming art
yeah,
and just letting it wash over you.
yeah.
You know, it
I mean,
just doesn't happen.
I can do that better with movies.
Hmm
I can sit back and enjoy a movie. I'll still have
hmm
ideas and I'll make a note of it, but I can still
hmm
just it draws me in.
hmm
But
hmm
with a book, nah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah. And that's my barometer, by the way, for knowing if a book is really good. If
yeah,
a book is really good, I'm not doing that. And I'm like
yeah,
actually, and I'm sucked in and I'm
yeah,
reading it. I'm like, and then you come
yeah,
out of it like somebody was, putting you underwater. You're like, and you're like,
yeah,
whoa, how the hell did they do that? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like dive back in, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the journey, man. That's how we got here. That's how we got to this book. Um, and then the listen. There's an entire story for the Sanhedrin itself. I don't know. I don't know if you want me to give like like more in depth about the story or how the story came to be, or wherever you want to go, man.
Well, we're free range, man. So just why don't you just tell us about it, like its themes, its plot,
Yeah,
and then we might, deep dive a little bit.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's start with its themes, right? Because the story really came in 2018. I saw the movie Black Panther,
Mm.
and which is inspirational for a lot of reasons, but for me specifically, I had never seen before a black superhero story that wasn't just featuring a black superhero, because
Yeah,
we'd seen that, right? You had
yeah,
Blade back in the movie Blade back in
yeah,
2000, of course, black superheroes in the
yeah,
Marvel in the modern context, Luke Cage, right?
yeah,
Static Shock. I mean, the list
yeah,
goes on and on. Um, but what made Black Panther different was that it was about the black experience, and it was about questions raised within the black diaspora,
yeah,
and it was a dissection and a conversation between people within the black diaspora and outside of it. And I looked at that and I was like, whoa, man, like where is the Jewish
mm,
Black Panther? Where is, see, where, not just like, because Magneto is a famous Jewish character in
yeah,
fiction in comics. And and Magneto is famously Jewish. He survived the Holocaust
yeah,
camps, and that's where he gets his creed in protecting
yeah,
mutant kind. But even with Magneto, who's perhaps most emblematic of the Jewish character in this space, there aren't as many stories about like what it means to be Jewish
yeah,
explicitly. Through allegory, of course, through the mutant allegory, Magneto explores it, but not explicitly.
yeah,
So I set out on a journey to make a story about a Jewish superhero talking about actual Jewish themes. And that would invite people in to the Jewish conversation.
yeah,
And that for Jews across the world, it would also be, I know this is going to sound grandiose, but a place where Jews could kind of,
yeah,
galvanize around it, and take pride in it, like Black
yeah,
Panther did for the black community.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
I mean, I think my brain automatically goes to Daredevil. Oh, they got the Catholic. He's always,
Yeah.
but even then, it hasn't got the depth of Black Panther because I love Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Rest
Of course.
rest his
Who
soul.
doesn't?
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that just felt like you were just drawn into this whole culture. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then we had the funny memes going around of oh look, it's Andy Serkis and and that other guy, the Tolkien white guys, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Right. That's right. Yeah.
Tolkien white
What
guys.
was it? Martin Freeman. Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Friedman and Andy Serkis,
Yeah.
yeah, the Tolkien white
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It was
but,
great. It was absolutely great.
but
But
yeah,
but Daredevil's a great reference, because
yeah,
Daredevil, you're right. Like the show, okay, so the show Daredevil, the Netflix show,
yeah,
it did lean into this a little bit harder, but in general, Daredevil's Catholicism is there.
yeah.
It's apparent, but I don't necessarily know if, as you're reading a Daredevil
You're
comic,
thinking about it all that much, yeah,
yeah, you're thinking about
yeah,
like the kind of the depth of Catholic thought.
yeah,
There are themes that
yeah,
resonate to Catholic people, and the
yeah,
guilt, and certainly
yeah,
Daredevil is like the most guilty. He feels the
yeah,
most guilty about everything he does. He takes a step in the rain. He's like, oh,
yeah,
should I have done that? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um, which speaks very true to the Catholic preoccupation. But
yeah,
there wasn't an explicit, even with Daredevil, not an explicit diving into
yeah,
those themes and
yeah,
psychology. Um, and so for the Jewish world, one thing that I really set out to do with the theme is to have a character who had abandoned his Judaism, and the reason he did is because he associated, well, first of all, he had a traumatic experience when he was young, so that's the main impetus. But then on top of that, compounding it, he has only associated his Judaism with being the loser.
yeah,
And you think about how Jews exist in the imagination, not just for non-Jews but for Jews. Yeah, and in an American context specifically, comedians, right? We talked about Jerry Seinfeld,
yeah,
um, lawyers, doctors, right? There's this kind of vision of who Jews are, quote, allowed to be, and
yeah,
what forms they're supposed to take. And he always associates them with never the cool people, never the badasses, right?
yeah,
When he thinks of a badass, my character Arthur, he thinks of Thor, he
yeah,
thinks of Black Panther, he thinks of Hercules, he thinks of all of these, Beowulf, right? So he thinks of all, to use an Australian example, the Kelly Gang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
right? Yeah, there we go. I tried to do a deep cut there with Australia. There we go. I tried to.
Yeah.
I could talk about the Kelly Gang all day long. They're great. But anyway,
Yeah.
what all these people have in common is there's a strength, there's a martial strength, there's a kind of like a physicality and a badassery to all of them. Whether it's with the Kelly Gang, there's kind of like the outlaw angle
Yeah.
to that. But with Thor and Beowulf, there's this mythic, almost like mythic strength. And he looks at himself and he looks at his people and he's like, we're losers. We always, when we tell our stories of our history, we live, which is
Yeah.
nice, but we have to die first.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like even Dara, you might be familiar. Dara Horn is a contemporary right now, famous Jewish academic, and she put out a book last year called "People Love Dead Jews," and it which right, which a bit of a charged title, but
Yeah.
let me explain. It's basically she forwards this idea that in the popular imagination, when Jews are weak or vulnerable or telling their sob story, that's when Jews have been accepted, quote unquote, accepted into mainstream consciousness and into assimilated life.
Yeah.
But once Jews exert strength, once Jews defend themselves, once whatever the case may be, right? Then all of a sudden we are the villains, and we're dangerous.
Yes.
And Arthur has internalized that. And so he goes on a journey when he learns he's part of a demon hunting order. You'd think like, holy shit, like if a Peter Parker learned that he's part of a demon hunting spider order or whatever, he'd be like, oh, this is the sickest thing ever. Like, Peter Parker, he'd be right.
Yeah.
But my boy Arthur here, my character, when he finds out, he's incredulous. He's like, but we Jews, we don't get to be cool. Is this real? This is actually right.
Yeah.
So it was a fascinating exploration of that. And then, of course, all the characters and the villains, which I could go on and on, but all the characters and villains are dimensions of that theme and bringing out different aspects.
But see, I don't know about that now because you've got Gal Gadot and she's Jewish and she's Wonder Woman.
I know.
How badass is that?
I know. And I also. Yeah, well, yes, and I also listen. Not to get too political because we don't want to get into a firestorm here. But when we think about Jewish militancy, I think it's fair to say that Jewish militancy at the moment is not being seen in the best light.
No.
But I think the broader idea that Jews have kind of internalized this sense of weakness, especially American Jews in an American context. I just think that resonates. And I think, you go back to even the Jewish writers of the 20th century, like Philip Roth. I'm making my way through his book Portnoy's Complaint, and it's all about this psychosis of like, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Why, anyway? So that was the thinking, and it's been quite the journey.
That's cool. So, you talked about your inspiration. So, like Black Panther. And that sort of thing. But what other like inspirations? Like, where did you pull other ideas from, or was it purely just the one thing?
Yeah. So it was a complete hodgepodge. Yeah, a lot of alchemizing happening. So first and foremost, right? You have the Jewish mystic tradition. Yeah. And just to specify for your listeners, right? When I say the Jewish mystic tradition, this is not your dad's Judaism. If you meet, 99 out of 100 Jews, if you meet them, the demons and the angels and the amulets and the charms and the names of God and the incantations, this is not part of mainstream Judaism. Yeah. But there is a strain, there is a mystic strain that runs alongside, kind of folklore and more of the kind of the apocryphal element of Judaism that has all of this stuff. Like, that was so cool to mirror Arthur's journey of self-discovery when I myself was going back into Kabbalah and to the mysticism and there's demons in Jewish thought. There's different dimensions in Jewish thought. Even reincarnation. I was like, wait, I thought Hindus had the corner on that one. You know what I mean? But like, even reincarnation is an idea that Jews have played around with before in certain circles. And so I took all this
Yeah.
And that's how I created the magic system and the demonology and the entire cosmology of the world that Arthur is up against, and the magic that he's wielding.
That's so cool, man. You
Yeah.
must have had a lot of fun just geeking out, you know,
Oh,
building this
yeah.
world.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
is it like our world, kind of like Doctor Strange in the sense that it's our world, but we don't know? It's
Bingo.
kind of like behind
Bingo.
the scenes. Yeah.
Exactly. So Jewish Doctor Strange or Jewish Harry Potter is a very apt description. Effectively, the way the magic works is that supernatural elements are hidden from plain sight. So demons, magic, and the like. You need a second sight in order to see them. The Sanhedrin, which is the name of the Jewish demon hunting order that Arthur joins, the Sanhedrin is a lineage of those who inherit this second sight, generation over generation, to protect the world. And what's really cool is in Kabbalah, in the mystic tradition, there's this idea of the tree of life. So when God created the universe, God, of course, created Earth and the planets and the stars and whatever. But on a metaphysical level, according to Kabbalah, there's also other inner metaphorical dimensional planes, like kind of expressions of the soul and expressions of our psychology that manifest in these planes, and they are part of a tree of life, very similar to the Norse idea, right? Asgard, Niflheim, Muspelheim, all that. And so in my story, Arthur and company, the Sanhedrin, they can draw energies from these other planes and use them to perform magic works on against demonkind.
That is so cool, man. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that's so cool. Bit of a segue, but I'm looking at the cover right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm feeling that little bit of a Black Panther vibe with the,
Yeah, man.
yeah. Is that where you got it from? The idea?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. So, yeah, for those listening in, so the cover is our main character Arthur is with his back to the audience, and in one hand he has a sword, and in the other hand he has a shofar, which is a Jewish ram's horn, which is used to blow out, like a trumpet on Jewish holidays, a few holidays, and he's staring at this like intergalactic kind of like psychedelic tree before him, and he's wrapped in the Jewish prayer shawl, which is called a talis or a talit. And so, yes, very inspired by that kind of. When you think about the Black Panther movie and the spiritual, the ancestors dwell in that kind of spiritual place. That is one of my inspirations for this higher plane, close to God, right?
But what's cool is I probably wouldn't have known that unless you told me that your inspiration was, bit of Black Panther, because you just you don't think about it, but then now that you've told me, it's like I see it. So it's good that
right.
it's not on your nose, it's not on the nose. It's just that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you get a specific artist for that, or did you do it yourself, or how'd you go about the cover?
So I worked with the publisher. They had a program, now not AI. I've gotten a lot of I want to set the record straight here. I've gotten a lot of flack, okay, because people have seen the cover, and on my socials, you might see comments that are like, "This is AI," but it's not AI. It is a program. The publisher shared it with me, and I forgot the name of it, but effectively, it acts as like a poster creator, so to speak. You can layer it and layer different what are they called? Different elements.
So almost like Canva, but better.
It's almost like Canva. Yeah, it's almost like Canva, but more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And more, and as you can, I mean, the cover speaks for itself with its sophistication, I think. But different elements are layered. What's the word that I'm looking for? Different, yeah, it's
layered.
It's layered. Yeah, it's layered. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so it came out absolutely beautiful, and one thing about the cover is that kind of psychedelic color scheming and the neon, almost neon glow against the dark and everything. That is very much indicative of these higher planes. So as Arthur goes up the tree and he goes up to these higher dimensions, each plane of existence has a different kind of psychedelic feel. And at the very top, towards the Godhead, towards closest to God's creation, you do have this really like beautiful bleeding violet sky against like purple sands, and it's very Van Gogh, and his painting. Yeah.
So when's the movie coming out, man?
Yeah. Dude, listen. From your lips to God's ears, right? We are actively talking with representation in LA,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it's
cool.
LA, it's
Yeah.
Hollywood, so
Yeah,
you
it's
know how it
Hollywood.
goes.
Yeah. I know.
It's
Yeah.
Hollywood, so we're talking, and hey, maybe you and I will chat again in 5 years, and we'll be somewhat close to a movie. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I've got a friend who's a filmmaker, but he's like independent and
Hmm.
won a whole lot of awards, and he's really good at what he does, but no one pays attention to him all that much. Like
Oh,
doesn't
it's
get
just
invited to do all these jobs. Like he's done an outlaw movie called Ben Hall. Um,
okay.
that's phenomenal. That's how I came because I love bushrangers. I love Australian history, and that's how I
Yeah,
discovered him. And I was like, oh, this movie's amazing. But yeah, it's so hard to get a movie made, you know?
yeah, yeah. Oh, very, very hard, especially now. Especially
Yeah.
now. I mean, listen, the fire. People might remember the fires that took place
Yeah.
earlier this year, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, but even before that, I don't think we have time to go into that deep of a tangent talking about
Yeah.
the economics of Netflix and streaming media.
Yes.
But suffice it to say, to wrap it up, basically, streaming media has changed the way the business works out there,
Yeah.
and has incentivized in my estimation, the wrong things, which makes it harder to get things produced out there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why, like me, I love going indie. I love doing everything myself.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
But
the way to get it done. You may have less of a
yeah.
budget, but I
Yeah.
think if you have less of a budget, you can get even more creative because you got to think about how am I going to do this for
Hmm.
a budget, instead of
Yeah, it's the same idea with storytelling, right? I
yeah,
think you would agree when you're in a box, you
yeah,
kind of have to think harder about how to get out of it, and it
yeah,
actually leads to good storytelling.
yeah. Oh, I love it. I got a friend who's hates prison arcs in
Hmm.
all movies, all TV shows, anything. He
Hmm.
hates. He'll skip over the prison. He hates prison arcs. He's like he thinks they're like lazy or whatever. I'm going like, nah, man, you got to get super creative when they're
Hmm.
locked in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, the example that's at the top of my head is: have you seen the season 1 of Andor?
no, no, not yet.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I won't spoil anything, but there is a sequence of episodes in the first
Yeah,
season when they're in prison,
yeah,
and trying to figure out how to get our boy out. It's
yeah,
it's one of the most stirring sequences in
yeah.
television of the past
Which
5 years.
is yeah, see, I love that. And I don't know if you ever watched Sweet Tooth. That was on Netflix for 3 seasons, and
Mm-mm.
season two was essentially a prison arc, the whole thing. You know,
Wow.
it's a
Yeah.
brilliant show with practical effects, hardly any CGI.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic, but kids, there's hybrids. So you got children that are born with like horns and
Whoa.
ears, funny, like the animal hybrid is such a good show. The comic book's more dark. It's like
Okay.
really, really dark.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
show's
Yeah.
the
Okay.
show's the show's pretty dark, but it's not graphic or anything. But
Oh, okay.
it's worth watching.
That's yeah.
Sweet Tooth. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was a
Yeah.
nice tangent.
Yeah, no, that was another great tangent. And it could have been a longer one if we indulged on the business of Netflix and
Of
movie
Netflix.
making.
That's where we were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, trust me, from your lips to God's ears, I think it would make a fantastic story in any visual medium
Yeah.
of comics, TV, movie.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm very proud of it. And so far, it's been very interesting because when you make something, when you're an artist and you produce art,
Yeah.
you put it out into the world. You know this. You put it out into the world, and then it no longer belongs to you.
Yeah.
And actually, that's okay because you actually learn a lot. You actually grow a lot by seeing all the different reactions to what you've made.
Yeah.
And you see, was I on the money? Did I get this right? It really actually is such a collaborative experience once you put something out into the world.
Yeah.
It's been so transformative for me since the book's
Yeah.
released back in November.
Yeah. I got a book coming. It'll already be out when this drops, but at time of
Hmm.
recording, I got one coming out in a few weeks, and it's with my
Oh
arc.
yeah,
It's
congratulations.
thanks. It's with my arc readers at the moment,
Oh,
and
okay.
and that's the most nerve-wracking thing for me.
Always.
It's just
Always.
like it's
Yeah,
just like
always.
someone on Instagram is reading it and they're doing the updates on their stories. They're going like, I am at
Mhm.
80%. And I'm going like,
Oh,
could you
really? Wait,
like
are you using NetGalley?
no. I
Okay.
just I'm lazy and just put out a post and go, hey, who wants to read this? And I get
Oh, okay. And then they just tell you manually where they're at.
yeah. Oh no, well they've no they just they're like bookstagrammers and all that, and they just have a post they put up and it says I'm at this percent.
Oh.
They show
Oh.
my book and then they have a little bar that says I'm 80%. I go, well, they're nearly at the end,
Wow. Wow.
you know.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah.
telling me. They're not telling me if they like it or not. I'm like going,
No,
can you tell me?
I know. I know. It's so nerve-wracking. Now, do you like, okay, so Goodreads, Amazon reviews, do you
Yep.
read those or yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sometimes like I take a sticky beak every now and again, but um, I don't have heaps of reviews, but
Hmm.
I've got a lot of 5-star reviews.
Hmm.
I got one star review, but they didn't say why. It
Hmm.
just says
Well,
1 star.
one star. It's so funny. Brandon Sanderson has a famous quote. He says, you're fine with 1 star reviews
Yeah,
because if it's 1 star, the person, they're probably they really just hate your material. It's bouncing
yeah,
off completely. Like,
yeah,
you can wash that away. Like 1 star, okay,
yeah,
fine. So, like, I guess you just don't
yeah.
like it. Though, what are real pains in the asses are the 2 stars
Mm,
because that is somebody who wanted to like it and they don't, and it's
yeah,
like, oh no, what did you do wrong? So that's Brandon Sanderson, for listeners,
yeah,
one of the more famous fantasy
yeah,
authors, in case they
yeah,
don't know. But yeah, he has that famous line about it, and
yeah.
it's true. It's true. I dread a 2 star far
Mm,
more than I dread a 1 star.
yeah. No, see, I don't care like with 1 stars or whatever because I always feel like it's just people going, hate it,
Yeah, yeah, and
you know,
that's the sound effect to a
yeah.
1 star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we had a guest on a while back, and he was saying that like, what was it? Um, oh yeah, he gave his book to people,
Hmm.
and they gave it like a 1 star,
Mm.
and they were going, not for me. And he's like, well, why are you writing a book that? Why are you writing a review for a book that wasn't for you? Like, it's not your genre,
Right,
it's not your
right,
thing. Like,
right.
like why are you doing that? Like, give it to someone that it is their thing, and then they can, you know,
Exactly, but
you know.
and again, that's why the 1 stars don't keep me up at night. But yeah,
Oh, and they don't.
no, but
Yeah,
yeah, all the time. But it's especially when you have a story about your own community,
yeah,
you're gonna get it wrong,
yeah,
and that's because you're only one person looking inside the prism of your own community,
yeah.
and you can only see it one way, and you're gonna get it wrong to certain people, and that's fine. That's fine because as an artist, like when you're putting something out into the world, the main goal is to generate conversation,
Yeah.
is to further conversation, not to dictate it, but to move it.
Hmm.
You know, and so it's just been a really really powerful response. There's been a pretty big reaction to the antagonist, so I haven't really
Ooh.
mentioned her a lot
I
on
was going to ask about that. So, villain,
yeah,
because I love a good
yeah,
villain. My villain in
yeah.
my book's very sadistic, but
Oh,
what's your villain
oh,
like?
oh. So mine is not necessarily as sadistic. Well, there's two. Okay, so let me back up. There's two. Rivka is a human woman who has learned the demonic arts on her own, and she has summoned an arch demon named Egrat to help her retrieve a special stone in Jewish myth called the Zohar stone, which is said to bring people back from the dead. And she's hoping to use it to bring her dead husband back to life. So she is a former Hasidic woman who is desperate to bring her husband back to her. However, as I mentioned, in so doing, she summons this archdemon who then preys upon Rivka.
Hmm.
And, listeners can probably imagine how this relationship goes. But ultimately, the archdemon Egrat becomes the main villain of the story. And she herself is trying to resurrect the archdemon Samael. And hijinks ensue, and it gets
Yeah.
really dark, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about like classic imagery of like the altar with the flies buzzing, and
Yeah.
there's bones and there's
Yeah.
blood, and we're talking like real horror stuff,
Yeah.
right? And but there's been a really big response to not Egrat, but Egrat's good, but the big response has been to Rivka, who is a former, I said, a former Hasidic woman, and there's a darkness that hangs about her, and it's not just the demon kind. It's she is a woman who is so strong, but she's been so put upon. And a lot of the characters, including her own mother, have said like a curse hangs on you
Mm.
and you're fated to be this way. And you have a girl who just is so desperate for her husband back
Yeah.
to give her a sense of safe harbor because she's just been so maligned by
Yeah.
everyone except for
Mhm.
him. And so her journey of self discovery and discovering her own strength
Yeah.
as well as Arthur, it kind of parallels Arthur's journey. It's been a real delight to see people love
Yeah.
her.
Well, you've made some. It sounds like she's relatable. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
she's doing it for love, man. She's doing it for love.
yeah. She
You
is. Yeah.
know?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, the things she's doing are pretty freaking gross, dude. But yeah,
I know. Well, how far would you
she's
go
got.
for love, man?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how far I wouldn't go. I don't know if I would carve a demonic incantation into my abdomen
Yeah.
and let the blood kind of like drip. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd go that far.
Right.
If my wife is ever listening to this, yeah, I love you. But
But not that much.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could put the knife into my belly. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so how well is it doing in the Jewish community? I'm assuming you're plugging it for, is that your main audience, or are you hoping for it to get a bit more reach?
That's a really good question. So when my agent slash editor and I were thinking about how we were going to market it, there were two schools of thought. One was, okay, you're going to get the fantasy readers, and then some will happen to be Jewish,
Mm.
or are you going to get Jewish readers, and some will happen to love fantasy?
Mm.
And so far, the marketing has borne out more fruit with the latter. That it seems to be the case that when I've pitched it to the Jewish community and those who are my friends or whoever I know who's
Yeah.
Jewish, that Jewish fantasy angle has seemed to resonate a little quicker and a little harder
Mm.
than to a wider fantasy audience,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a shame because I worked hard to make it appeal to a mass
Yeah.
fantasy audience, and there's
Yeah.
all the things in there that any fantasy fan would love. There's the
Mm.
demonic arts and the magic and epic battles, right? Like anime battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I kind of got what I wanted, right? You be careful what you wish for, because what I wished for was something to advance and move the conversation for Jews.
Yeah.
And that has been the revelation from Jewish readers who have gotten back to me, is like, this is so unique. I have not seen this
Yeah.
before. And so it's really been such a privilege to hear that. Now, in terms of the marketing strategy, actually in a few weeks' time, there's an organization called the Jewish Book Council. So I'll be going on to, just like this, I'll be going on to a Zoom with it. It's kind of like have like a speed dating. So there's going to be 100 authors, Jewish
Oh, cool. Yeah.
stories. And all these different outlets are going to hear your pitch for events or what the story's about, and then they get back to you and say, we'd love to have you at this temple, we'd love to have you at our bookstore, what have you.
Yeah.
But fantasy, listen, for anybody listening, I think it very well stands on its own for any avid fantasy reader. It gives you all the not all the tropes, but all the beats of what a good fantasy story is, including swords on fire and scarred angels, and sidekicks that speak the old tongue, and all the goodness of why we're here.
Yeah, no, you definitely got me interested.
Hells yeah!
If
Yeah.
Ryan was here, he would have bought a copy already.
No.
I guarantee you that. I'll make him listen to this back, and he'll definitely grab one.
Word.
Look, we're going to jump into our extra bonus content, which we do for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So for those on the audio, just let them know where they can buy your books, follow you, anything you want to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm J.S. Gold. You can find the book under the Sanhedrin Chronicles wherever you buy your books. Walmart, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Thrift Book, wherever you're getting your books, you can find it. And then you can find me to continue the conversation or hear more about the book and updates, hard at work on the sequel. I'm at JS Gold Author on Instagram, JS Gold Author on TikTok, and also I'm trying to put out monthly essays as well on my Substack, which is also JS Gold Author. So yeah, I would love to listen. The water's fine, people. We people are jumping in. The bandwagon is rolling. We're doing great over here. So we'd love to have more.
Cool. Well, guys, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out, and we're gonna if you want to hear what's going to come next, jump over to YouTube, because that's where we're going right now. Cool. So these ones are just, they used to be called quick fires, but people get in more and more depth with them as they go along.
Okay.
But you don't know these questions. They're sprung
Oh
on
my
you.
God.
They're sprung on
Oh
you.
God. All right. I'm
You,
ready.
you can come back to one if you want. Someone did that the other day.
Okay. Should I get a pen and paper ready? Like
No.
I'm taking this seriously. Like my
No.
mom didn't raise no fool. Let me get
Well, no. Well, the first one's simple. What genres do you like to read? Essentially,
fantasy.
fantasy. Yeah.
Fantasy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Exclusively. Don't ever jump outside your
No,
comfort
I
zone?
actually sorry, I was answering a quick fire. Okay.
Yeah.
So fantasy primarily. However, some of my best reading experiences have been outside of fantasy, and in fact, I think it's really healthy to read outside of your favorite genre
Yeah.
as a creator to get innovative, but also as a consumer to kind of heighten your tastes and make it more
Yeah.
sophisticated. I would say historical fiction. Straight up just history books. I'm a history nerd. I absolutely love it. Shout out to David McCullough and his biography of John Adams, the second president, going back to the American Revolution. And yeah, sometimes like a good old literary book. Like I was
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I was reading The Essex Serpent, which is this wonderful book from a British author whose name is escaping me at the moment. But it was just so well written, and sometimes like that's why you're there. You want words to kind of just like
Yeah.
tickle you and wash over you. And it was wonderful, and it had a really good commentary on different types of love and sex and this kind of nebulous space between friendship and romantic love and how that's not always a binary. That's a great book. Primarily fantasy, but I try to be well versed in a little bit of everything.
Yeah. It's perfect time to plug my historical fiction book.
Oh, what is that? Oh, letters from the Emu War. Hey now, look at that cover. That's sick.
That's my first book.
Oh my God, that's sick, dude. Now, just clarify for me quickly. It's kind of a misnomer to suggest that the Australians lost battles to emus. That's not what happened, right? That's not
that's true. 100% true.
That's literally true.
Yeah.
Like I'm picturing emus running across the outback, and then they fire, and then
it's not as grand as you'd think. There was 20,000 emus and 4 guys and 2 guns.
Oh my God.
But they shot the emus and they couldn't kill them.
Oh my God.
It was like,
well,
I think after 2 attempts they killed 900 out of 20,000.
Oh my
and it was
God.
it was 10 rounds per bird.
But it's a war. Why would they only put 2 guys on this?
I think it was the Great Depression, so
Okay.
resources, obviously, and I don't think they could afford. I mean, it was on the west coast of Australia, so
Yeah.
it was a lot of incompetence going on as well.
Yeah, right.
But
that is absolutely wild. And by the way, that cover, whoever did your cover, was that you who did that cover?
No, that was because I did it myself, and then I got picked up by a hybrid publisher, and then they did that cover. But I got the art commissioned, like as in, so they just combined art that I already had.
Dude, that emu in the commander's set is genius.
Yeah,
that's absolutely. And for the YouTube audience, they can see this. That is absolutely genius.
Yeah. And that's actually the uniform of one of our famous generals.
Oh yeah.
Because I just basically went to Fiverr and I was like, get this. I showed him a photo of General Monarch and then an emu, and I said, put that head in there.
Brilliant.
And that was it.
Yeah, stroke of brilliance. I absolutely love that. Yeah. Wow, so good on you.
It's a good laugh. It's written from the perspective of the emus too.
Oh, that's so great.
Because they won, so.
Did you do like a Watership Down kind of thing where each of the emus has a personality and like they have their actual characters? Or okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a where are they now in the back?
I love that. That's so great.
And I went to painstaking efforts to find emus that look different.
Right.
Like you look
Wow.
at that one, and then I just flip randomly, and then they look completely different.
Oh
You
my
know?
God. Different personalities
Yeah.
too. Wow. That's absolutely brilliant.
And well, I'll keep the plugging going. I got like, oh, I got recruitment posters done. So that's that way.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the money shot. That's great
Yeah,
for
and
the
then um,
remember the 900.
yeah. Oh, come on. I
Oh,
did
that's
I did
brilliant.
newspaper articles as well. Oh, there you go. There you
Oh my God. Wait, what does that say? Mob takes steps towards. Oh my
go.
God.
And yeah, the painstaking effort up because I write in it like actual articles.
Yeah.
So within the newspaper, there's actual stories in it. Yeah. So um
Oh my God.
it's
What a burst of genius that is. Wow.
it's doing well in schools. I get emails all the time from schools. And can I please
Oh,
use an excerpt for my school play? I'm doing a
yeah.
project. Can I interview you? Is there a study guide? You know? So
That's by the way, that's I didn't use the word genius lightly because when you get in the schools,
mm,
that's great. That when
yeah,
a book gets into the schools, the author's
yeah,
usually doing okay.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's basically selling itself right now. I don't market it all that much. It's just
Right, right.
people you Google Emu War and it turns up because there's not much. There's like 3 books on it. You know, and I'm
Yeah,
one of
right.
them. You know, so
Right. It's you from the side of the emus. It's
yeah,
you know what you should do? You should write one from both sides, like they had flags of our fathers and letters from
yeah,
Iwo Jima, right?
yeah.
You should right. You should
Uh,
you should do it from the emu side and from the real side and just have them, you know, and then I looked into his eyes, and then the other one's like,
yeah.
and I looked into his beak or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fun.
That's
That was another
great. That's
tangent. Let's go to the next question.
okay, yeah, sorry. These are quick fire questions? What yeah.
They started as quick fire, but they get more
They
complicated.
started, yeah,
So,
right, right, right.
first book you remember reading?
Oh man, How to Count to 10, which is a uh, West African folk story that was
Mhm.
put to a coloring, not a coloring book, a picture book, by Ruby. Oh, what was her name? Not whatever. It was put by a Black American activist, I believe. Um, and it's a story of how a new king needs to be selected for the animal kingdom.
Mm.
And the contest is who can count to the highest when throwing up a spear up into the air before it falls back down. And so the winner is, I believe, the gazelle,
Ooh.
because the gazelle is the only animal who comes to the contest who counts by two
Mm.
instead of by one. So even the mighty elephant with its trunk throws up the spear, and as it's crashing back down, you know, he's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it still falls. And only the antelope is going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10,
Yeah.
and there it is. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
It's funny how things stick with you, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, what's the last book you read? Most recent.
Most recent, the first book of the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is by Robin Hobb,
Mhm.
who is my favorite fantasy author. In fact, I think she's one of my favorite authors. Period. To be honest, she is one of the few people, along with like George R. R. Martin, who can combine a kind of literary sensibility or a heaviness to her work, a gravity to her work with fantasy, with like actual fantastical elements and
Yeah.
battles and all the good things that make fantasy awesome. She just does it with such a grace, like such a weight. And and I was thinking about it, what she does particularly well is she always creates worlds in transition.
Mm.
So there's always a feeling of mourning and a feeling of loss because she always has characters that are in the midst of watching the world around them change,
Mm.
and they're reminiscing. They're going, you know, it used to be like this, and that's not what it's like anymore. And those pressures are affecting how the characters have to make choices about this new world that they're living in. It's brilliant, and I absolutely love her.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is a book that's on your to read list? We
Oh
all
my.
have them.
Oh, and we all have too many, right?
Yeah.
What's a book that's on my to read list? Just trying to think of maybe the juiciest morsel here. Um, I actually haven't read Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. So,
Oh.
watchers might be familiar, but Brandon Sanderson's got his big magnum opus, his 10-book Doorstoppers, and he just published the fifth, Wind and Truth. I haven't gotten to it, and to be honest, and this is a secret we can keep between us and the YouTube viewers, I kind of fed, which means it's not a secret at all. I stopped after the third volume, and because I thought the books were a bit overbloated. Actually, I found that they could have been cut by 20, 30, even 40% and not lose a thing. And so I kind of got weighed down by them. But I probably should. I should probably continue. I should probably continue. Just if you're going to be a fantasy guy, and you got to know the big names, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now tell me, are you familiar with an old show called Gumby?
So okay,
The little green man.
the little green man, and he had the red horse.
Yep.
I am familiar with Gumby. However, I'm a millennial, so
Yeah.
so my exposure to Gumby is the stupid early internet videos that overdubbed
Yeah.
Gumby,
Yeah,
and it's
okay.
like, Gumby, oh, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you, Gumby. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you,
Okay.
Gumby. You know, like
Cool.
that's my like. I've seen
Yeah.
the animation, but it's always
Yeah.
overdubbed with, "Oh, you're a piece of shit." You know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you didn't know, Gumby has the ability to jump into books. So that the premise behind this joke, this question, is if you could jump into any book like Gumby, just for a visit, you don't have to live there. What book would you jump into?
Oh, wow. Can it be a video game?
I suppose if you can't think of a book.
No. I mean, listen. Look. You know, books. Look, books. You can always. Game of Thrones. You know, Westeros.
Yeah.
Is when it's not at wartime. Is a wonderful place, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine that going to see the Vale is like a real, like one of the
Yeah.
wonders of the world. If I want to see the Wall, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And in terms of other books, where would I go? A really good question. I probably would do the Six Duchies of Robin. Going back to Robin Hobb, I probably would do the Six Duchies of the Elderlings realm. The Six Duchies, when we find them, are, like I said, in a period of transition, and they're actually undergoing the process of like dissolution, which is really sad, actually. But at their height, the Six Duchies is like prime medieval, like, you know, get your grain, you know, go to the go eat your pot in the pot's hot on the fire there, you know, like that kind of thing, like in the castle and the keep.
Yeah.
Why I went to a Cockney accent, I'm not really sure, but fine.
Well, it's standard fantasy, isn't it?
It's standard fantasy, yeah. For some reason, I just think of an old, heavy, middling aged women, just with an apron and just a bubbling pot of stew in the keep. Yeah, probably the realm of the Elderlings. There you go. Yeah, we got the book answers. We got that.
Okay, now do video games because you got me curious because I game so.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, dude, the realms between.
Okay. Yeah.
The Elden Ring.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I would love living there. Maybe not Caelid. Caelid is a hellscape. Caelid is a nightmarish hellscape. But like Lyrinia and Stormvale Castle and like Limgrave, you know, I've played that game probably. I've run through it probably like 3 or 4 times. And every time I open the doors into Limgrave, like a wave of relief just washes over me. The way they designed Limgrave, that opening area, is just so bucolic and so, like, yeah, sure, things are trying to kill you, but like if you ever come back to that area after you ventured further, you're like, this is the most peaceful, awesome land, and I just want to like lay down in a meadow, you know. But and the most beautiful, and of course, it's home to the most beautiful city I've ever seen in gaming. And frankly, it's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen visualized in any sense, is Lendell, the capital, which is just, I mean, for those watching, you know, try to take a virtual tour with me. These grand Gothic white spires at the base of a majestic, colossal, world-sized tree. And in the shade of its eaves, and kind of like golden leaves from the tree falling onto the rooftops and onto the terracotta, and just like, and a kind of a golden slant and tint to the, and sheen to the entirety of it, you know, in a kind of a sleep. It's really, just one of the most beautiful locations I've ever seen put to my eyes.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, my nephew's obsessed with that game.
yeah, yeah.
He's
He's
just
got listen. He's got good reason. It's a
yeah,
wonderful game.
yeah. All right. If you could spend the day with any fictional character, who would it be, and what would you do?
Any fictional character, probably Matt Cawthon from Wheel of Time.
Oh.
Um, yeah, because well, I'll tell you why. Because I would bet whatever Matt bets. And for those viewers unfamiliar, Matt Cawthon from Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is one of the most epic fantasy stories ever told. Matt Cawthon is a gambler, kind of a rogue, like a rapscallion. He's kind of like a buccaneer, kind of like a gambler kind of archetype,
Yeah.
and he always has luck with him. That's his superpower, is luck, basically.
Yeah.
So I would just bet what he bets, also make the money, and we just go out, like let's assume this is before I meet my wife. We'd go out whoring and having a great time, and you know what I mean, and like drinking and
Yeah.
going through the different bars and going to rummaging through the bars of Tar Valon and the
Mm.
inns tier. That'd be great.
There you go. All right, simple one. What's a well, we usually say what's a must-read indie book, but if you don't know many indie books, maybe a recommendation of a lesser-known book, just one that everyone should read.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've had the privilege of meeting many authors through this writing workshop that I became a part of when my agent, kind of took me under his wing. So it's not an exaggeration to say I've probably met 100, probably 100 different writers passing through over the decade.
Yeah.
And one of them is, well, first of all, let me say, many of them are brilliant. I'm shouting out one in particular because her book is coming out soon. I think it's in getting ARC readers right now. It's called The Brood. And The Brood is effectively Misery meets The Fly. And
Wow.
so yeah, so you have a kidnapped main character who, like in Misery, who's kind of sequestered in this bed, right, and kept in this captivity, this kind of captivity. But the purpose for her captivity has to do with, needless to say, let's say metamorphosis and motherhood. so, so to speak, with a name like The Brood, you can kind of get
Yeah.
what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely horrific in the best way. It's a horror story mixed with like a thriller, and it's just plain creepy. Like if you like that, just creepy, out of your skin, kind of like,
Hmm.
oh man, like this is who can come up with this stuff, this and enjoys that. This is right in your lane. This is absolutely perfect for you.
Cool. I'll definitely
Yeah,
recommend that to Ryan because if he was here, he would be drooling. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure he would.
All right.
Yeah, it
So,
should be noted super quick. It should be noted there is some body horror in my work as well,
okay.
just to add more sprinkles onto
Yeah.
Ryan's.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
it. Cool. All right. So this is I'll have to set the scene for this next one. Something a
okay,
little bit elaborate. Okay. So
yeah,
picture yourself in a room somewhere. Not, there's a fireplace going. You're sitting on a rug, and there's a chair, and your favorite book is on the chair, and someone is
mm-hmm.
going to come in and read that book to you,
Mm-hmm.
living or dead, anyone. Who is it?
Someone's gonna read that book to me.
Yeah, live audiobook.
Oh yeah, right, live audiobook. Did we just reverse engineer story time? Like that's
Yeah,
that's called
yeah,
story time,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Story time. Yeah,
Right. Okay. Live audiobook, right.
yeah.
Um, um, who would I want to read? Oh, you know what? Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah, he's got that
Yeah.
voice. Yeah,
Yeah, oh, he's got that voice, and I could just picture him with that. Like, because really, it's Liam Neeson, but let's be honest here, for many of our viewers, it's Aslan. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
right.
Yeah.
It's just
Awesome.
Aslan just reading out Game of Thrones or A
Yeah,
Storm of Swords. That would
yeah,
be so sick.
yeah.
And then Jon Snow said to Ygritte, like
Yeah.
very, very sultry. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
that'd be
I could
sick.
get behind that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
am.
think I could.
What did I see recently? Something popped up. There's this things going around Facebook. This video. It's called "There I Ruined It," and it takes things and ruins stuff. But it
Okay.
did take in the musical, and it basically
Okay.
turned the phone call into a song. It's like, I will find you and I will kill you.
I
It's
have
just,
a particular set of
yep,
skills. Yeah.
yes, and it does that, and it's just like, and it worked so well, but
Oh no. Oh
it's
no. Thanks. I hate it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then because they did one with that Nickelback song, the photograph, and it's like, here's
Oh
my
yeah.
photograph.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took it before another photograph, and it's just all it's saying
Oh yeah.
photograph, and it's just a
Yeah.
collage of photographs of photographs of photographs of photographs. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very
Yeah.
funny videos. Um,
Yeah.
all right, we just got two to go. Two to go. Okay,
Okay.
this may be a tough one. It may be an easy one.
Okay.
If you could combine the works of two different authors, which would you choose? Crossover,
Oh, oh my
mishmash.
God. Crossover mishmash. I I would probably do. Oh, that's a really good one. Okay, okay, I'll tell you exactly what I would do. The Mistborn. So Sanderson's got the Mistborn trilogy,
Hmm.
and our viewers will probably know about it. And and Brandon and Sanderson himself would say this, right? Like the story, the world, the characters are top notch. The writing itself, the prose, is not his area of focus.
Hmm.
So it's he let it be a little pedestrian. I would love to see the Mistborn trilogy through the prose of Stephen Graham Jones, who is an American novelist who writes kind of supernatural stuff, but it's not really focused on that. It's more literary supernatural. I read his book Mongrels, and it was about a family of werewolves, and it was an allegory for the Native American experience
Yeah.
and the way that they have to try kind of traverse the American landscape. And if I could take that prose and that kind of like sharp, dry prose, and put it into a Sanderson world, I think that would be an amazing combination.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the last question?
I'm ready. I'm
The
ready. Listen, I
final
mean, you were not.
question.
Let me tell you something. You were not lying when you said this is tangents, and I mean, we have
Yeah.
gone far afield. Everything from somebody's calling me. That's how far afield we've gotten. I've
Yeah.
got somebody calling. We've gone from emus to Robin Hobb, so we're all
Yeah.
over the place. Yes. Just
Now,
give me the last.
I do want to say this because I put out a video recently about this. Um, we don't call it an emu.
Oh.
That's not our pronunciation. Our
Oh, okay.
pronunciation is emu.
Oh, emu.
Yes. So
Oh, like almost. Okay.
yeah, think EEM and then U, emu. That's
Emu.
that's how the Australians pronounce it.
Emu.
Yeah, emu.
Okay.
Yeah,
Emu. All right.
yeah,
I'm gonna take that to my high schoolers tomorrow.
yeah. That's how it's
All right.
pronounced. And show them
Emu.
my book. Show them my book if you want.
Yeah, I will. I absolutely will. I think it's. Again, I cannot stress how brilliant that was.
Yeah,
Anyway, yes, that's all
yeah.
to say. I'm ready for this last
Okay,
question with the from
okay.
Emu and everything else.
What are your top three desert island books?
Okay, man. Okay, all right. Storm of Swords, the Game of Thrones series.
Yep.
Assassin's Quest, which is again going back to Robin Hobb. That's the third volume of the first trilogy. She's got a number of them in that world. So the
Mhm.
third volume of the first trilogy, Assassin's Quest. So that's another third book. So Storm of Swords is the third too. And you got to go Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I think it's a miracle that I've. How long have we been talking? An hour and a half. I think it's a miracle I've gone an hour and a half, 90 full minutes without mentioning Granddaddy himself
Yeah,
and Tolkien.
Tolkien. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's actually the quickest answer we've got for that
Oh
question.
yeah. Yeah.
We've
Well,
had
because
we've had someone leave the room
really,
to look at his bookshelf. You know?
really.
You know?
Wow. I mean, there are honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Listen, honorable mentions. I mentioned before, David McCullough. The biography of John Adams is
Yeah.
one of the best books I've ever read.
Mhm.
The second American president. And then his book, 1776, would also be an honorable mention,
Mm.
which tells in detail the year 1776 and kind of takes you through the lives of all the founding fathers as they had to revolt and declare their independence. And like,
Yeah.
what did that look like? What did that feel like?
Yeah.
But yes, those would be now five with two honorable mentions in
Cool.
the top.
Yeah, no, we've had people sneak some in, like, because, like, oh, you can sometimes buy books that have two books within the books. So
Oh, yes.
so there's always been a cheater.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not cheating. I'm just saying,
No.
I'm just saying if I had, if I
Yeah,
had
if
a
you had
sideboard,
a little more room. If you had a little more
yeah,
room.
if I had a little bit more room, yeah, if I had a Dungeons and Dragons bag of holding and I had a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yes.
space.
Oh, you'd have
Yeah.
all the books.
No, it's just right. Then I just throw in my entire bookcase over here.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Cool.
this has been one of the most free roaming conversations I've ever had. Dude, this is and in an amazing way. This is fantastic.
Well,
I love what you're doing.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. You got it. Yeah.
Reach out. Feel free to reach out whenever you want if you want to come back on, because we'd love to, like, book 2, book 3. I mean, we haven't talked about that. This is a series.
No.
Yeah.
It's a series. I'm working on hard on book 2 as we speak. Yeah, 100%. I would love to absolutely stay in touch, see how go on the journey, and I want Ryan to read it.
Yes. I'll put it on his radar and make sure because he's the reader of the podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He devours those books. I'm the author of the podcast.
You're right. Right, sure. Yeah, it's a great duo.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. So, like I said, thanks for joining us. And guys, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out. All our socials are down below. All of J.S. Gold's golden links will be down below too. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.